Let's talk about the Warrior. This is one of the most versatile and best VTOLs in the game. It doesn't have much armor though, so you do not want to get hit. And certain vehicles like the AC-2 version of the Partisan or the Blackjack are your bane. We can start by taking a look in the old TRO 3026. See the various good vehicles. Savannah Master, personal carriers. Here we are, the Warrior. When I first saw the Warrior, I thought, what the heck is this? What a stupid helicopter. It's got, instead of having a rotor and a tail rotor like a regular helicopter, it's got two rotors in one place and the tail rotor that's pointed in the wrong way. But that's because I was used to seeing helicopters like Airwolf or the Apache, like here, and I thought that was like how helicopters needed to be. In fact, I even wondered if the people who made Battletech had just completely screwed up and had not even bothered getting the basics of helicopter aerodynamics right. But boy, was I wrong. In fact, I wonder if the chief engineers on some of these things actually played Battletech. This is the latest and greatest prototype for the US military. It kind of looks like a Warrior in many ways, doesn't it? There are many variants to the Warrior. The H7 is the go-to, or the first. The primary claim to fame of the H7 is it has an AC-2 and an SRM-4. You never really use the SRM-4 unless you're going for a back shot on something. You usually stand off at range 20-ish and pop off AC-2 rounds, of which you have infinite rounds, and you are aiming for armor holes in the late game. At the end of this vid, I will analyze the effect of having multiple on your side and see if it's cost effective. Then there's the H7A, which is intended to be a quote-unquote upgrade. That is, replace the AC-2 with an AC-5 so you can do actual real damage, but drop the SRM-4, which you never use anyway, and stick in a machine gun so you can do like anti-infantry or something. However, you're going to be in range for return fire. Your goal is just to be not worth getting shot at because the opponent is targeting your big mech. So you still are likely to have free reign. You can think of this as like the urban mech effect, where everyone doesn't take it seriously until the AC-10 does a crit on you. Then everyone hates it. The H7B is an apocryphal refit replacing the SRM-4 with two SRM-2s. Possibly useful in case you're trying to crit seek and you want to reduce the odds of your only missile, your SRM-4, missing. You get another chance of a hit. The H7C just has an LRM-10. Again, it's not as good as the AC-2 in that you will get return fire, but it is more of a combat unit like the AC-5 version because you are actually trying to do real damage. The H8 is like a hybrid that has an LRM-5 and SRM-2s. Again, it is similar to the AC-5 and the LRM-10 version, but it has some more future tech in it, so it's got more armor, etc. Then there's the H9 with the rotary AC-2. It basically turns it into a Warthog type unit, although it's still too close of a range so that you actually have risk of return fire. Its main drawbacks are high battle value and the fact that it's a late 3070 to 3080 era. Okay, so now let's look at what actually happened in the battle sims. So if you just look at the win percentages, it looks like this one is the best. It's the Warrior 7C. But then if you look at the lose percentage, the best one, the lack of lose, comes from the standard Warrior. That's because its AC2 allows it to keep at a distance, so it has a relatively high tie rate and a low lose rate, whereas everyone else gets shot down more often. So this is also cheaper battle value wise. Now let's go take a look at how these actually do then, performance wise, when you look at these factors. So the battle value is 309, 292, etc. So now let's look at the final end performance. Let's see here the AC2 here, of course, the AC5, the medium laser, the LRMs, and finally the rotary autocannon and their relative ranges. You can see here that the one with the medium laser has the highest rate of losing because it has to get into medium laser range in order to fight, so that no surprise gets shot down a lot. So wins per battle value, this one is the best, and this is the Warrior 7C. However, coming in a close second is the standard vanilla Warrior. So almost the second best per battle value. As far as tons are concerned, the 7C wins again. And then the next best would be the H8 as far as per ton, wins per ton. But that standard Warrior is doing pretty well. 6 wins per kiloton, which is pretty common for a typical vehicle. And the C-bills I don't trust here because it was hard to calculate the costs on some of these because of the various formulas, etc., and there weren't really published costs I could find. So I don't trust the cost calculations on these. But in any case, the best one, combat effectiveness, looks like the 7C or this classic Warrior. And surprisingly, the rotary autocannon one does very poorly, and I'm not sure why, other than the fact that it has to come in closer and just too many other mechs or vehicles can shoot it down. And the worst being the Warrior 7B, because medium laser is just pretty much everything. So now what happens when you make a whole lance or more of just warriors and see how they do? Well, if you look at just the warriors, of course you win more the more you put in there. The 7A, which is more of a frontline combat unit, scales more linearly. Let's go take a look at the wins per battle value. So if you look at the warrior, the H7, with only 2 warriors, it does a lot better than with 4 warriors or 6 warriors. And if you remember, 1 warrior was close to 0.4. With the 7A, you notice it doesn't really decrease. 33, 32, 29. It decreases a lot less. And that's because the 7A is a frontline combat unit that's actually trying to do damage, whereas the H7 is more of a niche unit. So it's not cost effective and combat effective to spend battle value on lots and lots of H7s, but it is for a frontline combat unit like the 7A. That being said, you're still better off not going for the 7A just because that medium laser just makes it at risk of getting shot down too easily. And surprisingly, or not surprisingly, the rotary autocannon, even when massed up, although it's fairly linear in that it is a frontline combat unit, just doesn't win very much. And now, I got something special for you. One of our viewers has a BattleTech book series, which, although I haven't read, I am very sure is a pretty good series just from the fact that he seems to know BattleTech pretty well. So his name's Keegan, and he's got some lances and some custom Riflemen variants in his books. Now I'm going to go over these Mike Keegan's Riflemen with you. These are from Watson's A Rifleman from his Cavaliers book series. Now again, I have not read this book series yet, although I probably will end up picking up a copy at some point because it does seem intriguing. Anyway, I've got these various characteristics here. And he has replaced almost all the weapons with more heat sinks, a lot more armor, and just vast amounts of medium lasers. In fact, he has no weapons that have range past 9. And he's also put a small engine in it so that it can go 353. It's also got jump jets. And the reason for this is so that he can keep up with heavier mechs. And with the jump, he has the ability to maneuver it a little better because of the fact that he's given up so much of his speed. And so it's a very interesting variant. It's kind of like a knife fighter type variant. He also had this Shadowhawk that was very similar. It's basically a kind of a short range knife fighter type mech. You don't want to get involved with this thing at short range or within medium laser range. So on a small hex map where you're fighting to the death or in an arena, this is a really awesome design, and it does well in those conditions. And we shall see how this does against a roughly equivalent battle value, or tonnage if you want to think of it that way, of my favorite warriors. Basically, we shall see what happens. But this video is getting kind of long, so it's not going to be in this video. There'll be a future video where how the battle plays out gets relayed. But you can kind of put your guesses into the comments to see what'll happen with 2 of these Riflemen teamed up against 6 warriors. So make your bets, and also if you want any of your favorite mechs or lances or even full companies simulated to see how it does in various scenarios, or against my favorite mechs, or even against some other viewers' mechs, send me the designs and I will simulate them for you and post the results on YouTube.